gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time once again for the Johnny Mandolin Show, broadcasting live on City World Radio Network. We have a wonderful show for you tonight. I have a wonderful actress, Miss Tiffany May, who will be here to tell you all about her specialized form of acting. You're going to have a great time. As always, we always have a good time here on the Johnny Mandolin Show, broadcasting live on City World Radio Network. Don't touch that mouse. Theme song, Anello's Blues, bringing us to a Johnny Mandolin Show here on City World Radio, broadcasting live from the wonderful New York City, best city in the world. Jade Zabrik is our engineer tonight and every night, broadcasting live and keeping us on the air and honest. So I want to bring to the mic a most unusual young woman who is eminently talented, has done some amazing things, and has a multiple career life. So to the mic, Miss Tiffany May.
Hello.
So glad you're here.
I'm glad to be here.
I know. I finally got you
here. Yeah.
So that's great. I'm so glad you could come. So Tiffany, you know, I had the good fortune to meet you at one of my favorite bars, a wonderful place in New York City called Jimmy's Corner.
Yes.
A heavy local place, and we love it. And you work there.
I do.
That's great.
I have worked there for 14 years.
Unbelievable. That's a great run.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. So, Tiffany, let's tell our audience a little bit about who you are. You're an actress, but you have a very specialized kind of acting.
Yes. So I work as a voiceover actress. I was a stage actress for a long time. I dabbled in musical theater since I was a kid. I went to school for musical theater and classical theater. And then I was a science teacher for a while and a scientific researcher. And then I came back to all of this and was like, I really want to do voiceovers. Everyone said, you should try voiceovers. You should do it. I was like, what is voiceover? I don't even know what that is.
Yeah.
And eventually I learned more about it and I started taking classes and I started auditioning. And now that's what I do. I record voiceovers and do voice acting.
I think that's wonderful. Well, you know, being in radio, we don't have any cameras here.
Yeah.
And so it's really the theater of the mind. And voiceover is not too dissimilar because you're using your voice to convey a message or a feeling or a character. And it becomes reality to the listener.
Yeah, I love it because you can be any part and it doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter all of those outside things that you see a lot when you're an actress on stage or in TV, you don't have to worry about. Actually, it's one of my favorite things to come into jobs after they book me and they're like, oh, we thought you'd be a brunette with glasses. Like, no, I'm a redhead.
That's okay. I like redheads. That's good. So tell us about yourself. Where are you from? And give us a brief history on how you got to this point.
Okay, so I hail from Lockport, New York, which is a small city between Buffalo and Niagara Falls in upstate New York. It's actually where the very first Erie Canal locks were built, which is kind of interesting. But neat. I grew up near the locks, and I started performing when I was a child. I played Annie 4 times.
Wow. Well, you have the red hair.
I do. I was loud, and I had red hair, and it was the 80s, so Annie was very popular. I got a lot of local stints, and I just started getting into theater, and I really loved it. And I always sang. I started singing when I was a kid, at about 3 years old, I think. I just remember playing my Fisher-Price record player, singing "You Light Up My Life" over and over again. And then eventually I won this Annie Lookalike Sing-Alike contest on the local AM Buffalo morning show. And it started there. I saw Annie. I loved it. And then I started auditioning, and I played Annie a bunch. Then just did theater all throughout my life and performed up until high school. And while I was in high school, I decided this is what I want to do. I'm going to go to school for this. But I didn't go to a performing arts school. I just went to normal, regular public high school. And I got into Cincinnati Conservatory of Music, which is a very, very competitive musical theater program. I think they accept 13 people. Wow. And I got in there. I went there for a few years, and then I went to Circle in the Square Theater in New York City, where I decided to be a classical actress and do drama. And I went to school there, and then I started performing around New York for a good 10 years, doing off Broadway, helping produce shows, doing all different things, doing regional theater.
Great.
And yeah.
And when did you become a New York City girl?
I moved here in 1995. Which I still can't believe. I moved here in 95, and then I went straight to school at Circle in the Square. And I think my first apartment was on 106th Street between Columbus and Manhattan, which was a terrible area at the time, and I had no idea. And now is like super fancy. And
now it's expensive.
Yeah, I think Columbia owns like the entire block. But it was great, but it was an exciting time. It was scary, and I was so excited to be here, like pursuing my dream. So it felt like a movie some days.
Oh, I bet.
And then I would be working my night job where I was a waitress, and I literally have like a copy of Midsummer Night's Dream in my apron pocket, trying to memorize my lines for the show. And it was great. It was such an awesome time. And New York was really different then.
Yes.
It was a little scarier. And it's so funny. I was waiting tables in Times Square, not too far from Jimmy's, and actually was introduced to Jimmy's back then. So I've known of Jimmy's for a while.
Wow. No, that's great. Well, for those of you who don't know, and I know we have a lot of listeners from outside of New York, Jimmy's Corner is one of the oldest bars in New York. It's like the greatest dive bar you could ever be in. Great people, great drinks, and cheap drinks.
Very cheap, yes. We're one of the cheapest bars I know of that exists anywhere.
And in New York, that's important because, I mean, a glass of wine can cost you $22 at some places, you know?
I know. Ours are $4 to $6 if you're fancy.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Or, you know, that good old rare and exotic tap beer.
Oh, yeah, yeah. We actually do have an IPA now. We have a craft beer that's pretty shocking.
Oh, that's great. That's great. And then, so you work part-time at Jimmy's, right?
Yep. So, yeah, I work part-time there. I actually started there in 2002, and I was still acting then. And while I was acting, I started working as a teaching artist where I was teaching theater to kids. And I would do that on my off days. And I was also a makeup artist. I've had a lot of different career paths. And I decided, you know what, I think I'm going to go back to school and like maybe take a break from theater. And so I decided to go back to be a teacher, and I went to Hunter College to finish my bachelor's. Got really into science and decided I was going to be an earth science teacher, and ended up staying there, getting my bachelor's and my master's. And then after that, I taught for 4 years in New York City public high school system as an earth science teacher.
That's great. What a great background.
Yeah, pretty zany. And then I did scientific research at Columbia University for a couple of summers through this program where they put science teachers in labs to do real science work. Mm-hmm. And it was awesome. But it was great. The whole time I was doing it, though, I kept thinking, like, I was an imposter. You know, it's like, this isn't really me. I'm an actress. But in those jobs, you are kind of acting in a way, especially teaching.
Oh, yeah.
My background really saved me because I was in a pretty tough school, so it was good to be able to improvise.
Oh, absolutely. Well, it's funny because we've all lived many lives, and done many jobs, and I still work 3 jobs and own 3 companies, and each one, and every day when the job comes up, that's what I am. Today I'm a radio host. Tomorrow I'm a lawyer. The day after that I'm playing Italian mandolin at, on a soundtrack for a movie. So you just never know whatever the day is, whatever the moment is, that's your job.
Yeah.
But really, let's focus a little bit now on your voiceover, which is your main job, and how you got into it. Let's tell people what exactly is a voiceover artist.
So a voiceover artist is any voice you hear in a commercial. It could be, there's so many different genres, audiobooks, there's medical narration. Pretty much any commercial you hear, the promos for movies, voiceovers everywhere. So really you're just the voice seen in something or heard in something. And there's so many different avenues of it. There's automated things, there's e-learning. It spans, but I mainly do commercial voiceover. And I'm dabbling with animation, which is something I really love. But it's using your voice to portray or give across the feeling of something and make it sound natural. Usually that's the biggest challenge is you're given a script, at least in commercial voiceover, and you're trying not to sound like you're selling it, but you are selling it as a human. Right. And it's tricky.
Well, I've been on radio for years, and to me, radio's like easiest thing in the world. But I did one voiceover, and it truly was one of the hardest things I ever did. And I think I did a lousy job of it.
I bet you did it.
No, but it's really weird because it's different, obviously, than radio and being a radio host because you basically walk into what we kind of call a sterile environment. It's you, a headphone, and a microphone.
Yeah.
And there's not necessarily sets and stages and lights and things to get you in the mood. So that's all inside your head,
Yeah. And it's really, you have to have some acting background because I've had jobs where literally I've been given a direction that is very emotional or, hey, pretend you just found out you got diagnosed with cancer. Go. And literally having to be that ready to access that and convey it with only your voice. It's tricky. Right. Whereas on stage, you can use your body, you can use your face, everything. Right. When you only have your voice, it's something you get really attuned to doing and working with. But it takes a while. I feel like I'm still learning. Mm-hmm. But I tend to... I'm noticing that I keep getting things where I seem to be a voice of reassurance in some way. So I have done a lot of home security, medication. Currently, I have something up for Dalcolax, so that's definitely about relief. And, things like that. And just, easing people's minds.
Absolutely. No, it's very difficult. And, we all react to speech. And it as soon as you open your mouth, usually people will form an image. Yeah. So being a voiceover actress or actor, you have to form that image very quickly into what that role is. And it's so funny because I know I grew up here and I born on the East Coast, lived my whole life here, other than going to college in California and then living bi-coastally. So I still go back to California all the time. I have a place there and I have clients there. I work there. And about 3 weeks ago, I was back there and I just walked into a place and they said, it was like one of these, Starbucks types of places. And they said, well, what would you like? Would you like a latte or would you like a macchiato? I said, hey, just give me a coffee. I said, what's a coffee? I said, coffee. Oh, you mean coffee?
Oh,
they got it right. Oh, you're from New York. You think?
Yeah.
It's like, what tipped you off?
Yeah. What gave it away?
Yeah, really. So immediately, you pick up on someone's speech and it immediately forms an image in your head. So that's really the main tool, I think, when you're a voiceover actress or actor, to have to be able to pull that off pretty quickly, pretty convincingly.
Yeah. And you have to be really aware of things like I'm from upstate New York, and so I have an accent that I have gone through years of training and dialect coaching in school that I got rid of so I could do Shakespeare. But when I go home, it comes right back. It's like, oh my gosh, let's go to the car. And I can't do that when I am doing a relaxing commercial for Dulcolax.
Yeah, I totally get that.
Dulcolax, not doesn't
forget about it.
Yeah, you'll be fine. So you have to be really aware of all those things too, and it's kind of like working a couple different parts of your brain at the same time. You're like, how can I make it sound real? How can I access my own real emotions and be super focused at the same time while reading and trying to sound like I'm not reading.
Yeah, no, that's good.
But it's really fun.
It is, and it is a whole form of acting that is, so many different kinds. There's stage acting, film acting, TV acting, and this voiceover acting is a whole unique kind of thing. Not everybody can do it, and not everybody can do it well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's awesome. And then when you do stuff like animation, it's, that's a whole other thing because that's just like acting on steroids. I mean, that's when you can do all the goofy voices and create these wild characters you've always wanted to voice. I mean, when I was a kid, I knew this was something I wanted to do because I would make commercials with the tape recorder and make up my own commercials. And I was like, this is what I want to do. But I didn't even know it was a real job.
No, I hear you. Well, when I was young, I'd sit in my bedroom with an old reel-to-reel tape recorder and make up fake radio shows.
Yeah.
And now I do it for real. So. Well, let's hear some of your clips here. We have clips of Tiffany doing live commercials, live voiceover commercials. What would you like to play first?
Well, I guess I'll start with my commercial voiceover demo. And that is kind of a minute-long smattering of a bunch of different things.
Great. Let's hear it. This is Tiffany May.
You work hard to keep your family safe, and so do we. Xfinity Home provides 24/7 security with professional monitoring for 24/7 peace of mind. Using breakthrough technology, our program detoxifies your body, corrects hormonal imbalances, and melts away 20 to 40 pounds in just 40 days.
But you'll take half my paycheck every time I want to use an ATM, right?
Nope, won't cost you a dime.
Okay. You might be onto something here.
Tecfidera may cause serious side effects, such as allergic reactions, PML, which is a rare brain infection that usually leads to death or severe disability, and decreases in your white blood cells.
You're getting it down. Oh, yeah. You're getting potty trained.
You've got Feel and Learn from Pampers, so use your Visa Business Credit Card every day for any expense. After all, success is a journey. Let us help you focus on yours.
Amazing. I love it.
Thanks.
Wow. Who are all those women?
I don't know. They're all different facets of myself.
I know. Now, are you getting therapy for this? No.
Yes.
Multiple personalities. No, that was great. That was really good. And a perfect example of different voices in different settings.
Yeah.
And, the very serious side effects may cause death.
Yeah, that was one of my first big jobs, and it was so hard because I really had to say death. And so they're like, just make it sound like it's not that bad. Yeah. I'm like, but it's death. Yeah. So you just kind of learn how to do it.
How do you prepare for yourself for, like, you're going into a job, you've gotten the script, you're ready to go. How do you get yourself ready?
Well, usually I don't even get the script until right when I get there. So so usually I'll tend to know what it's kind of about because I've auditioned for it. I'll usually look at it, read it over as many times as I can, say it out loud so that I just trip through. But before I even get there, I'll warm up like I'm about to sing, especially doing like articulation exercises. I usually drink some peppermint tea. That seems to help, and lots of water, and just try to get super focused. And then I try to relax because you have to be ready to listen to direction too. And someone could throw a million different ways of saying something at you, and you just have to be ready to listen.
Yeah.
So
and
ready to talk and listen.
and I'm sure bringing in emotions. They say be sad, be happy, be angry, be.
Oh yeah. So you kind of just have to be, I think I just try to be as present as I possibly can, but feel warmed up enough vocally so that I'm ready to say whatever will come out of my mouth. But if you mess up, you flub, that's just part of the job.
Yeah, then take two.
Yeah.
All right, let's hear some more. What do you want to play? This is Tiffany May and some more voiceovers.
I guess we could play the AFCU number 1.
All right, Tiffany.
Probably wouldn't want to wax your back. Give a piggyback to a lumberjack. find a Diamondback in your backpack, or get sacked by a cornerback, but we bet you wouldn't mind getting some extra cash back. And you can get just that, because the new America First Unlimited Cash Back card gives you 1.5% cash back on every purchase. You also get a spectacularly low rate, even more cash back with ABC deals, and the security of our Card Guard mobile app. So get more greenbacks back every time you transact, because when it comes to stacking up the cash, we've got your back. America First Credit Union.
Wow.
That was a fast one.
It was a fast one, but also it's kind of a tongue twister there.
Oh,
huh?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
say unique New York 3 times fast.
Unique New York. That's hard. Yeah, that was a quick one. And that one I recorded from home. These are clients I've been working with for a while, America First Credit Union. And I remember they kept saying, could you just do it a little faster? So I had to really practice up for that one. But it was fun because it was a goofy one.
And it is, but it's such a tongue twister there, too. That was easy to flub that up.
Oh, yeah.
I would be terrible on that. But no, that was really great. And when you say record at home, tell me about how you do that.
So I have a mini studio set up in my apartment. I'm moving to a new apartment where I'm going to actually I can actually have space to have a real setup where I can move around a little bit more. But I have a closet, and inside I have my microphone attached to my laptop with some soundproofing, and I go in there and record stuff.
That's great. And what programs do you use?
I use Audacity, which is a free download. It's kind of simple, but I've been using it forever. Oh, yeah, Audacity.
We're recording right now on Audacity.
I love Audacity.
Yeah.
It's great, and it's easy to use and user-friendly, because when I first started, I didn't know anything about editing or recording, and I went through a lot of trial and error learning. And then eventually now I feel like pretty comfortable with it. And then I have a microphone that I have hooked up in my apartment. It's pretty quiet where I live because I live near Greenwood Cemetery in Brooklyn.
Okay.
So that helps.
Yeah, the neighbors don't bother you.
No, yeah, they're tired.
Quiet. So, no, that's great. For years I've had a home studio. I actually have a whole radio station in my apartment.
What?
So, yeah, I can broadcast live. We're in our studio here in Manhattan, but I have one in my apartment, so I do know what you mean, but there's a blessing and a curse on there, too. You're never too far from work, whether you want to be or not.
Right. I know that can sometimes be tricky. It's like, are you home? Yeah, okay. I'll do it right now.
That's great. Now, tell us a little bit about how you get your clients, because I think from a business standpoint, one of the hardest things or one of the most important things is to get somebody to pay you to do this.
Oh, yes. When I first started, because I was such a newbie, after I'd taken a few classes, there's some websites. I mean, some people feel differently about them, but there's a couple you can go to. They called pay-to-play websites. I started with voice123.com, and pretty much if you have a demo, you can just upload it, and then you pay a subscription fee, and you can start auditioning. And literally just jobs come in. They're like, this is for a local bank in Nevada, and just record this little snippet of the script, and you send them an MP3, and boom. So I think I did 45 auditions before I ever booked anything. Wow. And then I got one. And from there, I actually am still working for that same person and their company. So I started getting clients that I would book, and they were repeat clients. So every now and then I hear from them, and they're like, hey, we have a spot. Can you do it right now? And that's how I started getting my own clients. Mm-hmm. When I started to feel confident, I started to meet agents, and then I eventually got signed with an agent and started working with another agent to get out there and go in for the big stuff here in the city. Mm-hmm. So that really helps.
And the union that controls this is what, AFTRA?
SAG-AFTRA, yeah.
Okay,
so there's a lot of non-union work, and then there's some union work, and the union work is the real good stuff.
Yeah, it's the meat and potatoes.
Yeah. So I go out for all of it and just see what sticks and give it a shot. I audition all the time, and I'm like, maybe this will be it, maybe not. And then sometimes I'll book something I never thought I would get that, but auditioning is part of the job.
Oh, absolutely. In any job, in any kind of entertainment, music or voiceover acting. All right, let's hear something else. What else you want to pull up?
Let's see. How much time do we have? Oh, good. We have lots of time.
Nothing but time.
We could do number 2, Xfinity Home.
Imagine an extraordinary step forward for vascular surgery. Imagine handing a surgeon right in the OR a tissue-engineered vessel as easily as you'd hand him the forceps. You don't have to imagine it, because Humacyte is developing the technology today. Our technology platform isolates and grows human acellular vessels, or HAVs, that can be stored on a shelf in a hospital, ready and waiting for patients who need them. Here's how the Humacyte process works. Donated human smooth muscle cells are placed on a tubular scaffold to form a vessel. The tissue cells grow in vitro to form a biological 3D scaffold matrix. Cells on the scaffold generate vessel tissue during culture in a bioreactor system. For 8 weeks, the vessels are grown and monitored under conditions of constant flow and pressure until all cells are removed. The vessel tissue is then cleansed of qualities that might trigger an immune response. And we're left with our HAV. Once implanted, clinical data suggests the HAV is remodeled by the host to create a vascular structure more similar to the native adjacent vascular tissue. The main beneficiaries of Humacyte's breakthrough technology platform may be the more than 400,000 Americans with end-stage renal disease undergoing hemodialysis treatment. But in the future, the possibilities could be endless. Imagine reducing infections, rejections, and procedures. Imagine fewer extra surgeries and costly complications. Imagine HAVs immediately available for all kinds of patients. You don't have to imagine it, because Humacyte is working on it today.
Wow.
Cool stuff, right?
That was an amazing voiceover segment.
Yeah, that's a hard one. That's they're growing blood vessels.
Yeah.
So it's a company called Humacyte. It's really cool. And actually, all three of my sisters are in the medical field, and my niece, so I was telling them about it. It was really cool, but it was a tough one because any medical script, I mean, I've done some that have almost brought me to tears because they were so tricky and I really had no idea what I was talking about. This one was a little easier, but it was so cool to do. It was really awesome.
Great. It was really, really well done. Now, when you do a voiceover, are you doing any editing for the music or is that all put in?
That's all put in. This was done in a separate studio. So they actually had an engineer and they were doing everything themselves. A lot of times when I'm at home doing stuff, I will actually do some of the editing, like taking breaths out and stuff. But then I send it a raw file to them and then they add all the bells and whistles.
Right. All the music's put in post.
Yeah.
I see. Yeah, that's what I would think. What do you think the future of voiceover is going to be? Where do you see it going in this business?
Well, it's so funny. I just went to an actual meeting about this, which was great because a lot of stuff has changed with technology. I mean, even when I originally started in voiceovers, which was over 10 years ago, I was just starting to audition. It was very different because technology wasn't where it is now. Now, it looks like more people are doing stuff from home. There's a lot more home studio work, so you have to have a home studio. The big, huge jobs through the agents seem to be becoming less and less. And it just seems more like you have to be your own boss and find your own work. One thing that I learned that was really cool, and I never thought about this, is that a lot of people are automating systems, and that's a whole other genre. I mean, Siri, Alexa, all these things, someone is doing that voice. So that's a whole other genre of voiceover that I never even thought about that was brought to my attention at this meeting. So it's kind of exciting.
Oh, I would say, yeah. Well, artificial intelligence is really taking off. I'm hoping it doesn't replace actors.
Yeah, me neither. But there's something about the human voice. I've heard about, I can't remember, there was somebody had created like a robotic system that could somehow replace human speech, and I heard it and I was like, I don't think you can replace the sound of a human's voice.
Yeah, they're not
I just
there yet.
Don't. And I hope they never do, because that would be really sad.
Yeah, no, I don't want that. It's like what they did with music. First I'm recording soundtracks with a live band, and then all of a sudden it's something from a synthesizer. So that's terrible. But yeah, no, I know what you mean. Now, I got something recently. I got a new toy. It's called Google Home. Now, I had no idea what this was. I'm not a tech guy, and so one of my friends had it, and he showed me how it worked, and he'd go up and say, "Hey, Google, play this song," or "Hey, Google, what's the temperature outside?" And the temperature in New York City is 45 degrees. And so I just said, I got to get me one of these, So I bought one. It was very reasonably inexpensive, and I love music. Music is always on in my house, day, night. So I got to play a lot of music. I have, the music libraries like Spotify and things like that. And then The other thing that's really interesting is that it's a female voice. I don't know if you can change the voice, but I like the female voice.
I think you can.
No, I don't want to. I like her.
Yeah, it's good.
I kind of got a crush on her. So. But, no, so I'll say like I was saying, like, hey, I'm getting ready. I'm getting my coat out. Hey, Google, what's the temperature outside in New York City? And then I was wondering, what's the temperature in Los Angeles? You know, they tell you, what's the temperature in Rome? You know, they didn't do it in Italian. You know,
Yeah.
I expected someone to say, "Che voglio mangiare? Are you hungry?" You know, but anyway, so voiceover is so unique, and you're right. The human voice is just, in a way, almost irreplaceable, and certain people with certain voices that are recognizable, I know, like famous actors,
Oh, yeah.
will get a lot of voiceover work, you know?
Oh, definitely. Yes, there's definitely, Morgan Freeman's of the world, Sigourney Weaver. I mean, there's a lot of, because once you hear those voices, you know who that is.
Yeah. Was it James Earl Jones who did it?
Oh, yeah. He's got the
or something
gravitas.
Yes.
Yeah, so you do, go up against that to an extent, but there's still a lot of work for people that no one knows, and voices no one knows.
They're not going to pay some big actor $2 million to say, it may cause death. You know?
Right.
So. All right, let's hear another one. Let's pull up something.
Let's see. Yeah, sure, might as well.
I feel like we're forgetting something.
Let me check.
Xfinity Home connects you to total home security from anywhere, and it protects you with our 24/7 professional monitoring.
No, I think we're good.
Good.
So you never have to worry when you're away.
The tent. We forgot the tent.
Well, almost never. Xfinity Home. Simple, easy, awesome.
Hey, look, I found the tent.
Call, go online, or demo in an Xfinity store today. You get in your car, start it up, and press the gas. And from your phone, you hear, and you respond. And then in your rear view, OMG, it's a COP. And then you learn that a ticket for texting and driving is nothing to LOL about. You drive, you text, you pay. Paid for by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. There are lots of online degrees out there. Many come with different admission standards and faculty than what you'd get on campus. At The Ohio State University, the degree you'll earn online isn't an online degree. It's the same degree that every Ohio State student earns. That's because our online students are taught by the same faculty and held to the same rigorous admission standards as every student on campus. The only difference is your classroom. At The Ohio State University, doing things the same makes us different. Explore the site to learn more.
Wow, that's super.
Yeah.
That's really good. Now, let me ask you a question. Are you adding the reverb, or is that all done in post
That's
as well?
done in post, yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Because a couple of those I did from home, but most of them were in studios, and they add all
I
that.
heard the reverb in the car. So
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the Johnny Mandolin Show. We're broadcasting live on City World Radio Network. We're halfway through our show. We're talking with the lovely Miss Tiffany May, talented voiceover actress, as well as bartender to the stars. So,
Yes, that's correct.
that's great. What do you do for fun? How do you escape the microphone?
That's a great question. I would love to travel more. I tend to hang out in my neighborhood in Brooklyn or in the city. I try to see friends a lot. Yeah, and do yoga every so often or go outside in nature whenever possible. Because I was a science teacher and I love earth science, I sometimes forget that you can still find those pockets of nature in New York City. So things like that, or go see shows. I do improv, and I'm on a team called the Janes, which is an all-female improv team at the Pit. And that is really fun. It's terrifying at the same time, but it's still really fun. I do it to myself on purpose. I'm like, just do it. Their whole motto is follow your fear. And so when I signed up for an improv class over a year ago, I was like, just do it. You're afraid of it. And so I'm still doing it.
Oh, I think that's great. No, that really helps you hone your acting skills, and that's great. Now, tell me about that. The Janes. Is Janes?
The Janes,
The
yes.
Janes. And where is the Pit?
The Pit is on 23rd Street. There's two theaters located in New York City, but one is on East 23rd, and the other one, I believe, is on 29th Street. So if you go to thepit.com, you can find it. And they have shows all the time. Great shows, super funny stuff, really, really talented people. And usually the shows are free or pretty cheap, under $10.
And is it a comedy club or is it a venue that just happens to have comedy?
It's a venue, but they do everything. They do improv, they do sketch, they have stand-up comedy. They have all sorts of stuff. And then they do jams, which is like you can go and get on stage with seasoned improv performers and do improv, even if you have very little experience. So it's a really great community.
I think that's great.
I love it. I mean, I still get scared because I'm still kind of a newbie at it, but I've met some awesome people, and it feels good to be part of something. That's one thing I miss is in like the theater, you really have this community of people that you're in a show with. Voiceovers are kind of solitary because you're at home a lot recording. You might meet some voiceover actors at auditions, but most of the time you're just solo. So it's nice to get out and actually be with people and interacting and be like, oh yeah, I'm an actress. That's right.
That's great. Now, when you don't record at home and you go in studio, are there mostly studios in New York City?
Yeah, they're all in New York City. Actually, one time I did record in Westchester, and that was interesting because it was like the basement of someone's apartment, but it was a real studio. So hey, I did it. I'm still alive. But yeah, usually I'll go to studios, and it feels really fancy. I think the first time I ever recorded in a real studio and saw my voice put to picture, I almost cried because I was so excited. It was like seeing your name in lights in a way. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm really doing this.
It's great. That's a great experience. Now, we talked a little bit very briefly, but we're going to talk more about it, and that's doing voice for animation. Animation
Yes.
meaning cartoons or anything animated.
Right.
Tell us.
So animation is, cartoons, video games. There's a lot of different also genres of animation. There's a lot of it based out in LA, but there is more happening here. I actually just did my first animation series. I played a small part on a show called Nella the Princess Knight. It hasn't been released yet, so I don't think I can say much about it, but when it comes out, I'll share. And it was so much fun. And because you're really acting. I think with voiceover is more like technical in a way when you're doing a commercial. But with this, I mean, I literally had to stand there, and the director was in the room with me, and he was like playing off of me. And then I literally was just like, he would tell me what I had to say, and I would do it. And he'd be like, yeah, and just, he would react. But it's way bigger, and it's a lot more, it's just a lot more emotional. But then you can do fun things, do zany voices, add different dialects, and add all these things. But a lot of times the cartoons these days, they really want like real sounding people rather than these wacky disembodied voices. So it's interesting to see how that's changed since way back when.
Oh yeah, the days of Rocky and Bullwinkle have changed. But I told you I had this one big part which was about 2 seconds long, and the part was I forget, a Japanese animated cartoon, but they said, play a New York cop from New York. I'm going, oh, okay. And the line was, what do you think you're doing? And that's what I said. So I just said, that's how I would say it. No, what do you think you're doing? Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's great. It's like, that's it.
I said, okay, thanks.
Okay, thanks, print. All right. Do you have any animation?
I do. You could play my animation demo, then I'll tell you about that.
I have wicked skills. I can sound like a Wookiee. Rip farts on cue whenever I desire. Stand back.
This redhead carrot top ginger snap tomato is a rare piece of pumpkin pie.
Hey, check it out. I just got a new shipment of fire ants. Killer way to wreak havoc on those annoying second graders.
Nazir, get out before I feed you like a fly to my giant spider.
Admit it, you love the danger as much as I do. Otherwise, why would a grown man dress up in a giant beaver suit and rob banks when he doesn't even need the money? Whoa!
That was Mr. Beagle's car. Awesome.
Hey, you kids!
Run! My daughter, Lauren. She was upstairs, napping in her bed, when a giant tentacle came through the window and snatched her.
Yes, I'm a rescue fairy. No, I'm not going to save your stupid boyfriend. He's bad for you.
Where I come from in the north, we used to have exquisite gourmet rocks. I'm diorite intolerant.
Oh, golly, I am oh so sorry. Even a school president like me has to follow the rules. Obviously, because they're my rules.
My doggy is my best friend. His name is Bacon, like breakfast. Bacon, Bacon, I love you, even with your smelly poo.
Oh, I love it.
It's a bit silly.
No, that was great. And those are samples of different animations, huh?
Yeah. Well, actually, I worked with a great coach, and her name is Anna Garduno, and we came up with scripts. So a lot of those I wrote because I was talking about being a redhead, but I did have a dog named Bacon, and he had smelly doo-doo, and we came up with a lot of it, or we took scripts that existed and morphed them. I actually had like 24 different characters, and we only picked from these were the only ones we had time to record, but it was so much fun.
No, that's great. Yeah, animation's a whole different kind of headspace than giving like a PSA or something.
Oh yeah, it's so different, and it's fun to figure out like the different voices. I mean, I always did that. Even when I was working at Jimmy's before I started doing this, I would create characters and do them behind the bar to people. I had one who was the angry baby's mad, and I would just do it all the time to my coworker. It's like, oh, I want my bottle. And then I was like, let me think about all the characters I've got inside of me. And when you start to think of all the different voices you have, it's kind of fun.
Well, at Jimmy's, you have a lot of characters outside of you.
Oh, yes. Well, then you can just borrow from what you see, because there are some characters that come to Jimmy's Corner that, you could just base a whole cartoon off of them.
Oh, I'll bet. That's too much. Animation, I think I've always liked it, and growing up, watching as much of it as you can. In my day, it was a little different than it is now. We didn't really have The Simpsons. We had, like I said, Rocky and Bullwinkle or Beanie and Cecil, and stuff like that. But still, it is just a whole genre, and famous voiceover people like June Foray, and who did the voice for Rocky and Bullwinkle and many other characters, made a living doing just cartoons.
I mean, Mel Blanc is. There's a video of him. I think he's on the David Letterman show, and he goes through a ton of all the different characters he's done. It's incredible. I mean, just what he could do, it blows my mind. I mean, wow, what a master. So people like that, I'm so impressed with. I still have a lot to learn in that genre, and it really depends on how your voice is too. Like I have a particular kind of voice, so I can't necessarily do the really high pitched things. So I'm kind of finding where I work in that realm of animation, and it's interesting.
It's really interesting. Does much of your animation work come from agents, or do you mostly do
Usually from agents, yeah. Usually I'll get submitted through them for stuff, and there's all sorts. There's Nickelodeon, there's DreamWorks, and there, like I said, there are things happening in New York, but it's a little harder to get into. It's more like a secret society, like who's doing all these voiceovers, and a lot of it is in LA too. So, but I'm still learning about it. I'm just so happy I finally got to do it for real, and it was so cool. And then I got to see myself animated as this character, and again, I wanted to weep. I was so excited. I was that's so cool.
That's a great accomplishment. That really is.
It is really.
And I never saw the cartoon I did, and I'm lucky I didn't. So,
oh man, that's too bad.
Yeah, that's okay. It's my big 10-second thing, but. In your life now, you do lead a bit of a complicated life because you're working at Jimmy's, wonderful bar, as we said, in Midtown. You're acting, you're doing your group, you're doing voiceover. Where do you think, what haven't you conquered yet, or what's one of the goals you want to go into as you go?
Well, I think the ultimate dream I have is to do voiceover only full time. Not that I don't love bartending. I do enjoy it but it's also a tough schedule, and it's hard when you're trying to pursue another career, and you need to sound vocally like you didn't work till 5 o'clock in the morning. So I think if I could, I'm working to get to that point where I can just do this full time. That would be amazing. And then I teach a little. This summer I taught at Colorado Springs Fine Arts Center, and I taught a voiceover class to high school kids, and it was so cool. I'm trying to find some way to meld that experience I had as a teacher with this, whether it be doing like earth science e-learning videos, because I have a true love for earth science. No, it's dorky, but I love rocks, and I love the weather and stars. So I'm trying to find a way to meld everything together into my own personal career. And so I'm just thinking of like all the things I've done. I'm like, yeah, I could read science stuff. I actually know what I'm talking about.
And now you mentioned a little bit about, I said, what do you do to escape all this? You like nature, you like to go out and, whatever, walk through the park. Do you travel much, like either for work or for pleasure?
Well, I was in Colorado this summer for a couple of weeks, and then I went to visit my niece in Idaho, and that was awesome. I don't travel as much as I should. That's the hard part about being self-employed, is that you feel like you can't leave because you don't want to miss an opportunity. But what I do is I bring my travel microphone with me, and I actually will end up recording in hotel rooms and under blankets if I have to. So I think that is something I need to make more time for, because I miss it. I miss traveling and going snowboarding and things like that. It's hard to leave, though, and I work on weekends as well, so it makes it trickier.
And snowboarding, so you're a bit athletic, huh?
Well, I was. I haven't been in a while, but I love snowboarding. I used to go to Jackson Hole, Wyoming in the winter. It was awesome, and I would fall a lot, and then I got a helmet, which was good because I was getting concussions regularly.
Wow, yes.
But that's a blast, too. Yeah.
I'm not the athletic kind, so snowboarding doesn't. I would have a serious problem there. Probably called hospital, but
yeah, you can hurt yourself. That's why I got the helmet. But yeah, that's super fun, and yeah. But I would say I'm learning how to find the balance between pursuing work and wanting to work all the time and then taking breaks. That's one thing I love about Jimmy's. Even though I've worked there for 14 years, I've done it for so long, I can almost do it with my eyes closed. And when I go there, I know, like, this is my job for now. Like you were saying earlier, like, this is my role for the night, and then it's over and I can leave it. And that's great, too, because when I was a teacher, oh, gosh, I was so stressed out. I would wake up in the middle of the night like, it's not gypsum, it's granite.
Yeah.
Like,
and no papers to grade after Jimmy's.
Oh, no, you just leave. And they're really like my New York family. I've been there 14 years, and I really like it's great to have that support too, almost like I was saying, the community, the theater community. It's my job, and we are in the trenches together working at a bar in Times Square, just like I was with my teacher friends. We were definitely in the trenches working together with the tough kids and the tough administrators.
Well, I think we have time for a few more.
Oh yeah, we should listen to, since we were talking about animation, number 7, Food City. And this, I'm the announcer, and I do a couple of the voices.
Oh, very cool. Let's hear it.
I feel like $100. We're all the way to $100, my friend.
They're coming.
$100?
It's the Food City $100,000 treasure hunt, where every store brand item in your home could be worth $100.
You found
So
us.
stock up on money-saving store brands for your chance to win. It's the $100,000 treasure hunt, only at Food City.
Are they still gonna eat us?
What if there was a...
Wow, that was great. That's just, I got so into it. It was like, wow.
Yeah, it's a lot of voices.
Now, do you also work with other actors at the same time, or do you submit and they add the voices?
Usually, if it's a paired scene, which are the most fun, because then you're actually acting off someone, they'll be there with you in the studio. But I've only gotten the chance to do it a couple times. But it's the best because you're actually acting and reacting with someone else. So, yeah, but this I did from home, and then they added in all the other voices. So it was just me solo.
Oh, that's great. I love the voices, too. That's really wonderful. I think we have one more clip. Let's play it. What do we got?
Tech Federa.
All right. Tiffany May.
There was another way to look at relapsing multiple sclerosis. This is Tecfidera. Tecfidera is not an injection. It's a pill for relapsing MS that has the power to cut relapses in half. Imagine what you could do with fewer relapses. Tecfidera may cause serious side effects, such as allergic reactions, PML, which is a rare brain infection that usually leads to death or severe disability, and decreases in your white blood cells. The most common side effects are flushing and stomach problems. Tell your doctor about any low white blood cell counts, infections, any other medical conditions, or if you're pregnant or plan to become pregnant, or are breastfeeding or plan to breastfeed. Learn more about the most prescribed pill for relapsing MS in the U.S. at tecfidera.com. Talk to your doctor about Tecfidera and take another look at relapsing MS.
Wow. That's really good. I mean, very professional, very thorough.
Thanks. That was my first big one.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
It was great. And they said, you can sell death. And I was like, can I quote you on that?
Do I get a percentage?
Yeah, okay, great. I'll be working forever.
Well, we've been talking with Tiffany May, a marvelous actress of the voiceover realm. You can meet Tiffany personally at Jimmy's Corner on 44th Street in Manhattan when she's working there as a bartender. But mostly you'll be hearing her lots more on records and TV and film and cartoons and animations.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it was great. I'm so glad you could come on, and it's really a unique thing. It really is. And you do such a good job, and I'm so pleased that you would come.
Yes.
And I have one last question before we close the show.
Of course.
Will you come back?
Of course. I would love to.
Okay, we have you on record now.
Okay.
Have you on audio, so that would be great. I'm so thrilled you were here. I'd like to thank everybody for listening in to the Johnny Mandolin Show here on City World Radio. We'll be back next Monday night at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time with lots more fun and radio. Always tune in. Thanks again for listening to the Johnny Mandolin Show. And stay tuned because we're going to go to Los Angeles with our crazy guy, Robbie Reynolds, and Garage Mania. Thanks again, folks. Thanks to Jade, our engineer, and thanks to City World Radio Network.
Hi, I'm Janice Ian. Do you remember how excited you were at the start of summer every year, and how the summer just started to drag on after a few months, and you couldn't wait to get back to school, see your old friends, make new friends, get new books and a new locker and a clean slate? Well, you should have been excited about music class, too, because that was a special room where you went to sing, perform with your friends, and learn all kinds of interesting stuff about great composers, instruments, different kinds of music and songs. We remember our music teachers because they were so passionate about helping us learn to love music. They helped to spark a love for listening to notes and voices and rhythms that continues to enrich our lives even today. I bet your kids feel the same way about music class. Ask them, and make sure they get involved with music in school and in their lives.
A PSA brought to you by MENC, the National Association for Music Education, and the National Anthem Project, the campaign to restore America's voice through music education. Music, part of a sound education.
Today's entertainment has been brought to you in part by Galito's Restaurant.